You know the feeling. I am certain you saw. It resists you late at night, often when the house is quiet and the distractions of the day have faded away. It is a hot, acidic wave of regret that washes over your chest. Woolly terror, staring at the ceiling, replaying a conversation from earlier in the day. You hear your own voice, slightly too loud, slightly too eager, spilling the details of your private life to someone who, in retrospect, didn't really care. Maybe you shared a secret dream you're working on, or a painful struggle you're enduring, or a detail about your relationship that should have stayed behind closed doors. You were looking for connection. You were looking for empathy. But no, in the cold light of reflection, you realize you didn't get empathy. You got a blank stare. Or worse, you got that polite, hollow nodding that people so when they are just waiting for their turn to speak. This is the vulnerability hangover. It is the sinking realization that you have given a piece of your soul to someone who viewed it as nothing more than casual entertainment. You feel exposed. You feel foolish. You feel spiritually naked in the public square. It's a heavy burden to carry, this feeling till you have betrayed yourself. But I want you to know, here in this quiet corner of the internet, that you are not in this. We have opened here. We have all mistaken a listening ear for a trustworthy hurt. But the ancient Stoics, toastmasters of resilience and self-control, they understood this pain deeply. And they realized something profound. That your private life is not a commodity to be traded for temporary connection. It is the source of your power. Let's walk through this together. Let's dismantle this heavy feeling and replace it with something stronger. A fortress. An inner citadel. Consider for a moment why we saw it. We feel this burning compulsion to broadcast our lives. Why we decide to get in shape is our first instinct to post a photo of the gym shores. When we suffer a heartbreak, is our first instinct to tell a coworker. The Stoic teacher Epictetus had a rather blunt but brilliant metaphor for this. He looked at his students, young men eager to prove their wisdom, and had told them sheep are not vomit up to grass to show the shepherds how much they have eaten. Pause on that image for a second. It's graphic, but it's accurate. If a sheep wants to prove it is healthy, it doesn't regurgitate the grass. It digests the grass inwardly, processes it, and then it produces wool and milk. The evidence is in the result, not in the consumption. But we, in our modern anxiety, we are constantly vomiting up our grass. We share our raw, undistant thoughts. We broadcast our whole-formed plans. We talk our healing before we have actually healed. We display the roots of our life, hoping someone will applaud, but by exposing the roots to the air, we often kill the plant before it can bear fruits over time. When you tell everyone everything, you are seeking external validation for an internal process. You are asking the world to stamp your permit, to tell you that your feelings are real, or that your goals are valid. But here's the hard truth that Stoicism offers us: the world cannot give you that stamp. Only you can. And when you seek it from the outside, you are entering a Zangorous marketplace. Seneca, another great Roman Stoic, wanted to spot the crowds. He wanted contact with the maze, often hostile to our inner peace. When you treat your private life like a public broadcast, you are inviting the opinions, the judgments, and the envy of others right you were. You are taking the most sacred parts of your fears, your loves, your ambitions, and you are placing them on a bargain table, hoping someone will pick them up and value them. But usually, they are just trampled on. Think of your mind, your soul, as a house. You have from thought. You have locks. At night, you lock your physical doors because you know that not everyone who walks the street has good intentions. You won't leave your front door wide open, with your most precious jewelry sitting on the porch. Why do you? You would call that foolishness. You would say it's asking for theft. And yet, as Epictetus reminds us, we hand over our minds to anyone who comes along. If someone asks a prying question, we feel obligated to answer. If someone prompts us for gossip, we chime in. We leave the door to our inner world wide open, and then we are surprised when thieves come in and steal our peace. We are surprised when we feel drained, empty, and anxious. We get angry if someone bumps into our body on the street, yet we invite people tremble through our minds without a second thought. We need to close the door. This isn't about becoming cold. It isn't about becoming a hermit who never speaks to anyone. It is about understanding the physics of the soul. Power requires containment. Think of a steam engine. If you poke holes in the boiler, the steam escapes, dissipating you the aromas and wick. But if you contain the steam, if you hold it under pressure, it becomes a force capable of moving mountains. Your privacy is that containment vessel. When you keep your counsel, when you hold your tongue, you are not being secretive. You are building pressure. You are building the kinetic energy required to actually change your life, rather than just talking about changing it. Imagine walking through life like if they had a secret garden inside of you. A place that no one else has a key to. A place where your dreams can grow in the dark, set from the scorching heat of criticism. A place where your wounds can heal without being picked at by the curiosity of others. Doesn't that feel lighter? Doesn't it feel more stable? This is the shift we are making today. We are moving from the open door policy, where everything is for sale, to the inner citadel, where the most important things are guarded by a gatekeeper. But how shall we actually do this? How shall we navigate a world that demands we share everything? How shall you answer the colleague who asks, what are you up to weekend? Or the relative who asks, why are you still single? Without seeming rude. We need practical tools. We need a new way of engaging with the world that protects our peace without turning us into stone. You see, most people mistake silence for emptiness. They think that if you aren't talking, you aren't thinking. If you aren't posting, you aren't living. But the Stoic knows that silence is not empty. It is full of answers. Silence is the sound of your life gaining traction. Think about the most powerful people you have ever met. Not necessarily the richest or the most famous, but the ones who commanded a room just by sitting in it. Did they babble? Did they rush to tell you every detail of the morning? Did they complain about their boss within 5 minutes of meeting you? No. They held something back. There was a reserve. A depth. You got the sense that what you were seeing was only the tip of the iceberg, and that the vast majority of who they were was submerged, deep and unshakable beneath the surface. That is the power of the inner citadel. When you practice the art of withholding, you create a gravitational pull. People are drawn to what they cannot fully understand. Overfamiliarity breeds contempt, but mystery. Mystery breeds respect. But it goes beyond just those soul dynamics. This is about the physics of your own motivation. There is a psychological phenomenon that modern science has confirmed, which the Stoics intuited 2,000 years ago. When you talk about your goals, when you tell your friends, I'm going to write a book, or I'm going to start a business, your brain release a hit of dopamine. It gives you the premature feeling of satisfaction, as if you have already achieved a thing. You trick your mind. You feel the reward without doing the work. And what happens? The drive dissipates. The hunger fades. By the time you sit down to actually write the book or start the business, the energy is gone. You spend it all in the conversation. So the first rule of the inner citadel is do not let the steam escape. If you are angry, hold it. Let that anger metabolize into a plan. If you are excited, hold it. Let that excitement condense you focus. If you are grieving, hold it. Let that grief deepen your character rather than just becoming a story you tell for sympathy. But I can hear you asking, that sounds noble, but how shall I actually do it? I live in the real world. I have no neighbors. I have family members who don't understand boundaries. I have crackers who pry. This brings us to practice. We need to equip you with a shield. Let's talk about the gatekeeper technique. You are under no obligation to tell the truth, to hold truth, and nothing but the truth to anyone who is not a judge in a court of law. When someone asks you a personal question, you do not have to leave, but you also do not have to hand over the keys to your house. You can't use the art of the generalization. When someone asks, so how is your marriage going? I heard you Greece were fighting. The old you might have defended yourself, explained the situation, or vented your frustration. The new you, the Stoic you, simply smiles calmly and says, we're working through things just like everyone else. We're good. And this is the key you pivot. You ask them a question. But how you been? I saw you went on vacation recently. People love to talk about themselves. If you deflect the spotlight back onto them, they will rarely notice that you didn't answer the question. You protect your privacy and they leave feeling hurt. It is a social Aikido move. You use their momentum to step aside. Or consider the Vagu affirmation. If you are working on a big new project and someone asks, what are you working on these days? Do not give them the blueprint. Do not give them the timeline. Simply say, I'm just tinkering with a few new ideas. It's early days, but I'm enjoying the process. That's it. You have been polite. You have been truthful. But you have remained opaque. You have kept the energy inside the engine. However, there is a deeper layer to this practice. It requires you to conduct an audit of your inner circle. Seneca wrote bountifully on friendship. He said, trust him, but judge him before you trust him. Most of us have that backwards. We trust people instantly. We overshare on them when they betray us or disappoint us. We judge them. We saw it in the wrong order. You need to look at the people in your life and ask yourself who has earned the right to see inside the citadel. Not everyone who is nice is safe. Not everyone who is family is wise. You might have friends who are great for a look, great for a drink, but terrible for a confidence. And that is okay. You don't have to cut them off. You just have to categorize them correctly. Stop trying to buy bread at the hardware store. Stop trying to get deep empathy from shallow people. When you realize that you only really need one or two people in your life who truly know the whole you and that everyone else can just know the public you massive weight life stuff your shoulders. You stop striving to be understood by people who are committed to misunderstanding you. But there is one final, crucial habit that ties all of this together. It is a microscopic pause that changes everything. A tiny gap in time that separates the master from the slave. In the heat of the moment, when a question is fired at you, or when a piece of gossip is dangled in front of you like bait, your primitive brain wants to snap at it. It wants to react instantly. This is the open door reflex. The Stoic practice is to insert a wedge of time between the stimulus and your response. When someone asks, why did you leave your last job? Dead. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. In those 3 seconds, you are not just waiting. You are stepping back into your citadel. You are asking yourself, does this person need to know this? Will sharing this bring me peace, or will it bring me regret? That silence that trees can gap is powerful. It invests people slightly. It shows that you are not a reflex machine, but a thinking, choosing human being. It signals that you are in control. And often, in that silence, the other person will start talking again, answering their own question or moving on to something else, saving you the trouble entirely. You silence as air filter. Let it do the heavy lifting for you. Now, let's go deeper into the mindset shift. We have talked about protecting your privacy. But what are the offense? What are the positive power of keeping your mouth shut? We return to the image of the fruit and the root. There is a profundity in letting your results speak for themselves. There is a coolness to the person who then announced their comeback, but just shows up transformed. Imagine you are working on your physical health. The loud approach is to post every workout, talk about you did constantly, and seek praise for every pound lost. The Stoic approach is to disappear into work. You grind in silence. You sweat in private. And then, 6 months later, you walk into a room and people simply see it. They see the change in your posture. They see the light in your eyes. They see the result. And because you didn't talk about it, the result hits harder. It seems effortless to them till you know the price you paid. But more importantly, because you didn't rely on their applause to keep you going, your discipline is now self-standing. You are no longer powered by external batteries, you have built your own generator. This applies to your healing as well. If you have been through trauma, heartbreak, or loss, there is a phase where you need to talk to a therapist or a trusted confidant. That is necessary. But there is also a phase where talking about it keeps the wound open. There comes a time when you must stop identifying as the wounded one in public. You must stop retelling the story of your pain to everyone you meet, because every time you tell the story, you relive the emotion. You etch the neural groove deeper. The Stoic healer knows that true recovery often happens in the quiet moments when you decide to focus on what is in front of you, rather than what is behind you. By keeping your healing private, you reclaim your identity. You are not the divorcee. You are not the victim. You are just you. You deny the world the ability to label you by your past because you refuse to hand them the label gun. In this quiet corner of the internet, we talk a lot about amorphing your fate. Part of loving your fate is accepting that your journey is yours alone. It was custom-made for you. The lessons you are learning in the dark are not meant for the stadium. They are meant for the sanctuary. The price of this privacy is that you might feel less connected in the superficial sense. You won't get the likes. You won't get the flood of comments. You might even be called aloof or hard to read. But consider the trade. You trade the cheap, flickering light of popularity for the deep, steady warmth of self-respect. You trade the anxiety of what wilting tea for the peace of you know who we am. So, as we come to the end of our walk together, I want you to visualize your mind one last time. See it not as a busy marketplace, noisy and cluttered with the footprints of strangers. See it instead as a high-walled garden. In the center, there is a deep, still pool of water. This is your inner citadel. Outside the walls, the wall continues to shout. It demands your attention. It begs for your secrets. It tries to pull you into the endless cycle of noise and validation. But inside the walls, inside that is quiet. In this place, your dreams are safe. Your wounds are healing in the sun, undisturbed. Your plants are growing strong roots in the dark, preparing for the day they will break the surface. You hold the key to the gate, and from this day forward, you turn that lock with intention. You are no longer a thief, letting your life drain out. You are a vessel. You are containing your power, preserving your peace, and building a life that is defined not by what you say, but by who you are. This is Stoic art of silence. It is not an act of hiding. It is an act of holding yourself in high regard. It is a promise you make to yourself that some parts of you are simply too precious to be shed with falsehoods or not to the value of gold. If this message found you at the right time, if you are ready to close the door on the noise and build your own inner citadel, then I ask you for one small commitment today. Go down to the comments and simply write the word stillness. Let that single word be your contract. Let it be the first brick in the wall of your new sanctuary. Thank you for walking with me. Here at the Stoic Sanctuary, we believe that peace is not given, it is greeted. Until we speak again, guard your mind, keep your counsel, and find strength in the quiet.